today's video and welcome to another WWE reaction. For today, I will be reacting to a Cultaholic wrestling video. If you want to check out the original one, head there to their channel. The video is called 10 Awful WWE Gimmicks That Only Lasted One Night. Huh? One night? Alright, let's go.
Some terrible WWE gimmicks are given plenty of time to leave their lamentable mark on the wrestling world, whether they're permitted on the airwaves for weeks, months, or
Oh my God, move
years.
that picture.
Others, however, reared their ugly little heads just once before being told to piss off back down whatever wretched little hole they came
back
from.
in your hole.
Their sports entertainment lives may have been brief, but in a few cases, that brevity has only helped them live on in infamy. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10
See, like, literally, they were one night, but we still remember them.
awful WWE gimmicks that only lasted one night. Join us. Number 10, Crocodile Hunter Shane Thorne. When you think of Australia, well, when I think of Australia, I picture obnoxiously loud blokes 8 cans of Foster's deep, riding home on kangaroos as they attempt to avoid a sea of venomous snakes and make it back in time for shrimp on the Barbie. What I'm saying is, stereotypes work. Shane Thorne, formerly Retribution member Slapjack, clearly thought the same when he trialed a Crocodile Hunter gimmick during a dark match prior to the September 24th, 2021 SmackDown taping. After footage of the Steve Irwin-inspired character found its way to social media, Thorne made a point to note that the gimmick was his own creation and that he was inspired by Nikki ASH. He also added that his former stablemate Dijak, aka T-Bar, had been bugging him to embrace his Australian identity and had a hand in convincing him to bust out his best Skinner impression. Unfortunately, WWE weren't convinced and told Shane to embrace being temporarily unemployed when they released him 2 months later.
Savage! So savage.
Credit to Thorne for being proactive and trying something new, but the Crocodile Hunter gimmick belonged out back.
Abort.
Jack.
Abort.
Number 9, Doc Kabuki. When Steve Williams was shockingly knocked out by Bart Gunn in the Brawl for All tournament, any chance of a potential headline program with world champion Stone Cold Steve Austin, as had been the working plan, went out the window. His hard man reputation in tatters and his hamstring hanging on by a thread, Dr. Death had no choice but to take a few months away as WWE considered their next steps. Williams re-emerged on the February 22nd, 1999 episode of Raw, interfering in the end of Gunn's hardcore title match with former New Midnight Express teammate Hardcore Holly. Of course, you would only know it was Williams if you were clued in. Wearing a kabuki mask and doing some terrible karate thrusts, Williams threw Bart off the stage and through a table, costing him the match. A variation of the gimmick, such as it was, had actually been pitched to Doc prior to his WWE debut. The idea was that Williams, having made his name and reputation wrestling in Japan for the past decade, had turned his back on his all-American roots. In any event, Kabuki Steve Williams lasted exactly one segment and was never spoken of again. Number 8, Emelina. Another Aussie that got a rubbish makeover was Emma, who had enjoyed a good main roster run as both a babyface and a heel prior to suffering a back injury in May of 2016. 5 months later, vignettes began airing hyping her return, but not the return of Emma, mind. Oh no, this was going to be the emergence of Emelina.
Oh my God, get me out of here! Emelina. No. Dude, if there is like, have you ever heard of Esmeralda? This like Spanish soap opera that was really popular in the 90s. This is what it reminds me of.
These videos showing Emelina, prancing about in bikinis and whatnot lasted weeks and then months. If it felt like the protracted teases were an inside joke, it's because they were.
Female influencer on Instagram
that despite the consistent airplay, there was no spot for Emelina. She eventually showed up on the February 13th, 2017 episode of Raw, where she referenced the long wait and then announced the makeover makeover of Emelina to Emma. And then she walked
Back
off.
to Emma.
And that was that.
That's it.
So, what in the name of didgeridoos was all this about then? According to reports, the Emelina character was supposed to be in the same vein as Attitude Era sex kittens like Sable and the Cats, but
doesn't
WWE
work
twigged that
today.
Tennille Dashwood wasn't feeling it and stopped it before it could get started. Number 7, Friar Ferguson. After spells in
Thank God.
Stampede Wrestling as Macan Singh and in WCW as Norman the Lunatic, Mike Shaw likely assumed that he had finally gotten his big break when he signed with WWE in early 1993. Unfortunately for the super heavyweight, who was noted for a great series of matches he had had with a young Owen Hart, the best WWE could come up with was a character called the Mad Monk. Fearing a
Because why not? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
backlash from religious groups, WWE Creative tweaked the character to a babyface called Friar Ferguson. The Good Monk made his one and only appearance on the April 12, 1993 episode of Raw, where he won an unremarkable squash match. The match might have been routine, but everybody watching could tell the gimmick was positively DOA, including, it seems,
Abort.
WWE Creative, since the character was shelved immediately after. Friar Ferguson's blink and you'll miss it tenure might have also had something to do with the Catholic Church of New York complaining about
No shit, Sherlock and every other detective. Duh!
what they considered a sacrilegious depiction. Whatever the real reason, the bottom line was Ferguson was fried, and it was time for Shaw to move on to bigger and better things. And was there anything bigger or better than Bastion Booger? Number 6, Sister Abigail. There's a lot of lore around the character of Bray Wyatt and his
I
wife.
feel like we're gonna figure out who Sister Abigail is. They have been hinting stuff, and I feel like now with the Wyatt legacy like coming back, and we are gonna see what's gonna happen next. Probably Sister Abigail is gonna show up.
Family, but the part of his backstory that seemed to intrigue people the most was to do with the mysterious Sister Abigail.
Yeah.
The Eater of Worlds had named his finishing move after this supposed sister and would continually make references to Abigail in promos. These teases would inevitably lead to renewed speculation that Sister Abigail would make her debut as a WWE character proper. That never happened, but
It might happen. This year, it might actually happen.
Sister Abigail, in air quotes, did show up on the October 9th, 2017 episode of Monday Night Raw. It was, of course, Bray Wyatt wearing a veil and using a voice modulator. Though his promo on Finn Balor was meant to be menacing, it was, in fact, pretty laughable, unfortunately. I mean, you could literally hear people in the crowd laughing during this poorly thought-out segment. Sister Abigail was due to clash with Balor's demon alter ego at the TLC pay-per-view, when Bray unfortunately came down with an illness and was pulled from the show. Being sick is never a good thing, obviously, but the timing of this particular illness at least spared Wyndham Rotunda what was sure to be further embarrassment.
I think that was really good. Like, that's the best time to get a bit sick. Nothing permanent, of course. I think now they can actually make Sister Abigail the right way that was supposed to be done. Bring a female character that is as crazy as Alexa Bliss and connect those characters somehow and do a really proper Sister Abigail.
Number 5, The Zombie. Any hope that WWE's new rebooted version of Extreme Championship Wrestling would resemble anything close to the much-loved original quickly dissipated with the very first match on their new TV show. And hopes were high after 2 very well-received one-night stand pay-per-views. But what fans watching the inaugural edition of ECW on Sci-Fi on June 13th, 2006 didn't realize was that WWE Creative had to make some concessions to the show's network in the form of including some new bizarre characters. The Zombie, who reportedly could have been the Martian or the Cook to take a shot at the Food Network, came out for the opening contest as Taz and Joey Styles gave it all the respect it deserved on commentary.
Dude, I wanted the Zombie's intro to be like the Walking Dead music.
Zombie, portrayed by then
and then like he comes into the stage and he walks so slow like the Walking Dead zombies. Like slower than The Undertaker.
World Wrestling Council Tag Team Champion Tim Arson cut a promo consisting of the guttural sounds of the undead, and then ECW original The Sandman came out to put the Zombie and everyone watching out of their collective misery with a good old-fashioned caning. It was a brief but extremely painful, pun intended, debut/retirement for the Zombie in more ways than one, and a rude awakening for ECW fans. Number 4, the Jinx Brothers. If you were one of the lucky bastards to catch the October 6th, 1996 episode of Superstars, boy were you treated to a smorgasbord of awesomeness. Zip, Salvatore Sincere, Leif Cassidy, Aldo Montoya, the fake Diesel, all the stars are here. While all those characters lingered like a bad smell, one particular gimmick from this episode was over and done with that very night. And just for clarification, it definitely wasn't over in the wrestling sense. Losing a short match to the Grimm twins, Ron and Don Harris, with another winner of a team name, the Jinx Brothers, that's Ignis and Wildo FYI, were masked little devils with neon-coloured hair. In fact, under the hoods, they were actually long-time WWE enhancement talents Matt and Jeff Hardy. I suppose this was WWE trying to do anything with the North Carolina natives after they had helped put over some of the company's best and brightest. Unfortunately, it didn't work, and the Jinx Brothers were restricted to a single showing. Matt and Jeff went back to paying dues under their real names, but superstardom was right around the corner, or at the top of a ladder anyway. Number 3, Hayvson. Those of you who have no idea who the hell Hayvson is obviously weren't big fans of the Frontier Wrestling Alliance in the early to mid-2000s, and shame on you for that.
Hey, don't shame me. I just started watching last year. Why are you mean to me?
Hayvson was plucked from WWE Developmental toward the end of 2008 and pitched a storyline that seemed too good to be true, because it was. According to Hayde, then WWE writer Freddie Prinze Jr. outlined how he would be the leader of an X-Men-style group of supervillains who would target The Undertaker. This, according to Vanson's telling, would lead to a match between himself and the Deadman at WrestleMania 25. One promo for Vanson aired on the December 12th episode of SmackDown before Triple H openly questioned why some no-name British bloke from FCW was getting a major match with The Undertaker, noting how Hayde reminded him of the guy who cut his grass. Vince McMahon laughed at the joke, agreed that Hayvson as some sort of masterful cult leader figure was dumb, and the storyline was instantly cancelled. Piling on the misery for poor Hayde, he was wished the best of luck in his future endeavours just a few weeks later. Number 2, Fantasio. At 6'3" and a muscular 260 pounds, it's easy to see why WWE felt like they could have something in Harry Del Rios, who wrestled for the Memphis-based USWA promotion as the Spellbinder. He didn't bring that gimmick with him to Titan, however. Oh no, Del Rios instead tried out a new character called Fantasio. His one and only televised match, a quick victory over Tony DeVito on the July 16th, 1995 edition of Wrestling Challenge, was notable for the various tricks Fantasio performed before, during, and after it. Like his finisher,
why am I sounding German?
He would leave his opponent's boxer shorts without tearing them. Yes, that was the finish. A magic wedgie.
Wow.
Perhaps his greatest trick was disappearing forever afterwards, because outside of one more dark match against Rad Radford, that was it for Harry, who was duly sent back to Memphis. Though the gimmick was utterly rubbish, another strike against Fantasio was the fact that he almost burned down the backstage gorilla position with Bruce Pritchard in it before his lone televised outing, after dropping something flammable he planned to use in his act. Talk about the wrong kind of heat. Number 1, the Toxic Turtles. WWE have had dragons, bulldogs, snakes, and all other manner of animalistic grapplers, but on only one night did they have turtles.
No.
Toxic turtles.
Ninja Turtles? No. Really?
To be precise. Obviously, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were a big hit with kids in the late 80s and early 90s, and pro wrestling has never been shy about outright plagiarizing a popular concept.
They plagiarized it too.
But the Toxic Turtles, who wrestled their one and only match at the March 9th, 1993 Wrestling Challenge taping, wasn't the brainchild of Vince McMahon or anyone else in WWE Creative. Rather, it was the men in the suits themselves, jobbers Dwayne Gill and Barry Hardy, who had the
you just wake up one day and you just decide to ruin your career. You're like, oh, it's gonna be a great idea. I would understand if the company puts that on you and you have to follow.
Costumes made in the hopes of working multiple times per night and thus making more money per TV taping. Tommy and Terry Turtle got the win in a match most notable for a spot where one of the turtles landed on their back and couldn't get up because they're turtles, you see. Bloody shell. Yep, that was about as good, and I use that term loosely, as it got, with WWE binning the toxic turtles off faster than you can say intellectual property lawsuit.
Exactly. And they didn't get sued for that? I don't think they can do that anymore. Like, copyright laws have been greater and greater for stuff like this. I don't think so. Although I would really love to see references like Family Guy or something like that. It would be so funny. Who would be Peter from WWE and Family Guy? Oh my god, that is such a great idea. Let's like find cartoonish characters and compare them to actual wrestlers. Perfect. I could make that video. All right. If it is any consolation prize, I heard in an interview Dwayne Jill said he has won many Halloween costumes contests wearing the Toxic Turtle costume. That costume is terrible, you guys. It doesn't even fit him properly. Oh man, it's a shame Fantasio bombed. I think a magician wrestling doing tricks during the match could really get over if it is done correctly. That's a really cool combo. I think it's really hard to do something like that, especially that you make a gimmick one time or you make like a magical move one time and you cannot do it again. I think the closest guy to a magician that would work, I don't know, a magician, but someone who is like mind tricking you would be Seth Rollins with his mind tricks. The way he like speaks to you, the way he can trigger you, especially with his connection to Roman Reigns and their history together. He's like the Joker, you know, and like that works. Stuff like that is like a bit more realistic, you know, but also use fantasy in a way that's always good. But that is it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and see you tomorrow with a brand new one. Make sure to check out my Patreon, patreon.com/supportbunny, for more WWE content. I just finished the Undertaker documentary there, and right now I'm watching the CM Punk one. Have a wonderful day and see you tomorrow. Bye!